Critique! The Comprehensive Guide to Apologetics, General Editor Joseph M. Holden. Chapter 4. What is the overall apologetic task? Don Deal and Joseph M. Holden. Per usual, the link to Chapter 4 is in the description. And now that we've all read it, let's get right to it. Alrighty. So the apologetic task is outlined in 3 steps, and we'll briefly go through each. And then as we delve further into this book, we can get more detailed. Now, the authors state that they're not trying to outline a specific argument. This is just the apologetic task, and then they do give some examples of how the task can be implemented. So once again, we will go through each step briefly. Step 1, and step 1 is categorized in 4 separate questions. Question 1, is truth absolute and knowable? Question 2, the laws of logic. Question 3, is there objective meaning? And question 4, does something exist? Is truth absolute and knowable? Well, that depends on your definition of truth, absolute, and knowable. Again, I subscribe to the correspondence theory of truth. So basically, the truth is the universe and everything that exists within it. So there may have been a time when, say, the logical laws or the universal laws that govern our cosmos here, there may have been a time where they did not exist. And then we can ask a question, will there be another time where these descriptive laws will not exist? So I don't know if anything is absolute other than whatever exists at any given time. As far as knowledge is concerned, we already know that human beings do not comprehend the world as it is. But we do have a fairly good approximation and can navigate and exist and, do all the things that we do. So as far as being able to obtain knowledge goes, I don't think we can in an absolute sense. But I do think we can have good reason for our belief. For example, I don't know that the sun's going to rise tomorrow, but I have good reason through experience and through history that the sun will indeed be there when I wake in the morning. In fact, the reasoning is so good that it doesn't even cross my mind anymore that if the sun will or will not rise in the morning. So to answer directly, is truth absolute and knowable? Tentatively, yes. Question 2, laws of logic. I believe the laws of logic exist. They are descriptive laws that seem to be self-evident, and we use them in our epistemological processes. Question 3, is there objective meaning? The short answer, yes. Existence is the essence. All that exists, down to the smallest existent, up to the universe itself, all of them has properties. And such properties are what makes an individual existent meaningful. In other words, human beings, one of our properties are intelligence. That's what it means to be a human being, is to have a certain amount of intelligence, to be conscious in a certain way. And the universe, the universe seemingly contains every existent. So what the universe means is that it contains every existent. At least for now, that's the definition of the universe I would give. We could find out later that there are indeed things that exist outside our universe, if outside our universe is a coherent statement. Does something exist? Well, I believe many things exist. And if this is a question of hard solipsism, that question is not solvable. But I really don't care, because I think it's just a nonsensical philosophical supposition. There's absolutely no evidence to suggest that we're all brains in a vat or something of that nature. René Descartes concluded with his cogito ergo sum that at least he existed, and I agree with Descartes' summation. Yes, I exist, and in my worldview, many things exist. Step 2, theological foundation. And under this heading, there are 3 questions. Question 1, does God exist? Question 2, are miracles possible? Question 3, if God, why evil? Question 1, does God exist? And I would love to get a solid answer to that question, but I cannot. Because the truth is, I do not know if a God exists. That makes me agnostic. I also do not believe that a God or gods exist because of a lack of good evidence. That's what makes me an atheist. And as we go through this book, I'll explain why that the evidence, quote unquote, that they're offering isn't good or sufficient to warrant belief. Additionally, it seems that our natural laws do actually break down just prior to the expansion of our universe. So again, it's possible that our natural laws can be broken down, but I don't know if they can be suspended. Question 2, are miracles possible? I don't believe so. Miracles are a suspension of natural law, and I honestly do not believe natural law can be suspended, because there doesn't seem to be any evidence that natural law can be suspended. But I have an open mind. I'm willing to look into whatever evidence anyone has to offer. Go ahead and comment below. Question 3, if God, why evil? Well, this question's actually easy, because the short answer is, if a God exists and evil exists, then God is not good. Thus, the Christian God does not exist. Now, I know Alvin Plantinga, he tried to counter this by suggesting that God could have a very good reason for permitting evil. However, Jesus said that good fruit does not come from an evil tree, and evil fruit does not come from a good tree. So either Plantinga was correct, or Jesus was correct. Which one, Christian? Step 3, evidential foundation. And under this heading, there are 4 questions. Are the New Testament documents reliable? Question 2, is the New Testament historically reliable? Question 3, is Jesus God? Question 4, did Jesus rise from the dead? Question 1, are the New Testament documents reliable? I find it interesting that he's talking about New Testament documents when the New Testament is based on the Old Testament. And the Old Testament, we have 0 original copies for any of the Old Testament, and I mean 0. I think what we have now is based on an 11th or 12th century manuscript, if I'm not mistaken. You have to look into that. But yeah, so if the New Testament is based on a document that is defunct in itself, I already question the New Testament's veracity. But the truth is, a lot of scholars, atheist or Christian New Testament scholars, there's a lot of them that do not believe that the New Testament or the documents, they do not believe that they are reliable, and they do not believe that the New Testament is historically reliable. And I believe with good reason. And hopefully we can get into that later if the book gets into it like it promises. Now, I do agree that there are a great many manuscripts. That is correct. The thing is, they never say that most of them are just scraps. And they never say that there's disagreements, misspellings, and all manner of errors. They never want to imply that the Bible is a literary mess, because that's what it actually is. Question 2. Is the New Testament historically reliable? In a word, no. The best you could say about the New Testament is that it's historical fiction with a little bit of, wisdom or practical teachings in the epistles. But that's it. We're talking about magic, like the supernatural stuff. It's magical. There's astrology in there. There's syncretism within the person of Christ. Like, he's not unique at all. There have been other religious figures that have done similar things to Christ, especially rise from the dead or sacrifice themselves or parts of themselves for some particular reason. Again, the best you can say about the New Testament or the Bible in general is that it's historical fiction. Question 3. Is Jesus God? Well, obviously my answer is no. I'm an atheist. But there is a question of whether or not the early church believed Jesus was God. Much like today, back then, there were many different Christian organizations, and they all had a multitude of beliefs about who Jesus was, and what was his substance, what was his relationship with the Father, etc. It wasn't until the Roman Catholics wiped out all of the, quote, heresies, unquote, that the doctrine of the Trinity and its explanation of God's nature came to be. At least how it came to be orthodox. There are many people today who believe that the Trinity is heresy. What's more likely, that a phenomena we have no evidence occurred at all actually happened once, or that the story was made up, like other mythological stories that have similar occurrences like healings and resurrections. I do not believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, because I do not believe that it is possible for anyone to die and come back to life. And miss me with the NDEs, because near-death experiences are not death. Much more could have been said about this chapter. Much more could have been contended with. What did you notice that I did not mention? Go ahead and comment below. And that's what I got for you today, folks. Despite any disagreements between us, be well on your journey.